The dreadnought Aurora's wrath emerged from hyperspace, like a leviathan wreathed in violet glow, its hull plates humming under the strain of the sublight engines. It hung motionless above the swirling lavender clouds of Epsilon Prime, a world once dismissed by Imperial surveyors as a barren wasteland of rock and sand. Now, under those alien skies, something impossible stirred. Captain Selene Arcturus stood on the command deck, her dark hair pulled back into a severe knot, eyes fixed on the planet below. She had commanded a dozen vessels over her 15 years of service, but never had she felt such a peculiar prickle of awe and unease. Beside her, Lieutenant Jurek monitored the readings, fingers dancing over hollow controls. "Captain," he said, voice tight, "energy flux is off the charts. These crystalline spires, they're resonating in patterns our sensors can't parse. It's as if they're alive." Selene nodded, absorbing the data feed, waveforms shifting with eerie grace, patterns echoing no known psionic signature or natural phenomenon. "Bring up the spectro-imagers," she ordered. "Let's see exactly what we're dealing with." The viewports activated, bathing the bridge in pale violet light. Below, crystalline towers jutted from the planet's surface like glass trees, bending in a silent wind. Tendrils of luminescent energy wove between them, igniting the clouds in electric arcs. The towers pulsed in a slow, rhythmic cadence, almost a heartbeat. "Magnification at 50 clicks," she instructed, and the image sharpened to reveal a cluster of structures forming a sprawling nexus. At its center, a sphere of transparent material floated mid-air, rotating imperceptibly. It crackled with ethereal filaments of light, dripping into the towers like glowing sap.jurok, sucked in a breath. "Whatever this is, Captain, it's defying every principle of physics we know. If it's a power source, it makes a battle fleet look like a matchstick." Behind them, the ship's AI, designated Vesper, interjected in its smooth timbre. "Incoming transmission, unsecured channel. Source coordinates, Nexus Alpha." Selene turned. "Patch it through." The bridge lights dimmed as the viewport flickered, replaced by a formless field of gray interference. Then, across the static, a clear voice spoke in flawless Galactic. "Comin'. We mean you no harm. Allow our emissary to board." No hologram accompanied the message, no telltale surge of subspace bandwidth. The voice simply resonated within the dreadnought's Kummer rays, as though it were speaking directly into their minds. Selene exchanged a glance with her first officer, Commander Tarek Doom. Tarek's face was inscrutable, but his clenched jaw betrayed tension. "Commissary?" Selene asked aloud. "How?" The voice answered, disembodied yet intimate. "They will arrive shortly. Prepare the docking clamp at Hangar 2. On Selene's order, Tarek initiated the docking sequence. Below decks, the hangar bay lights switched to welcoming blue, and magnetic grapplers extended from the grim-dark walls. In moments, a bright shimmer fractured space itself. At the far end of the bay, a stuttering tear through reality. From this rift, human figures stepped forth. They were tall and slender, clad in suits of interwoven silver filaments that caught the light and flowed like living mercury. Their features were strikingly familiar, yet undeniably alien. Elongated skulls tapering to graceful napes, eyes the color of jade glass, and lips that curved in serene smiles. Each carried a small device, a crystalline cube no larger than a man's palm on a leash of quivering energy. A hush fell over the assembled bridge crew as the humans strode in perfect unison, neither pausing nor hesitating. They radiated calm assurance, as if they had walked these corridors 1,000 times before. Selene stepped forward. "I am Captain Selene Arcturus of the Imperial Navy. You are our guests. State your names and purpose." The tallest of the group inclined their head. "I am Commander Marin Gale of the Human Accord." We come in peace, seeking the wisdom of the Empire and offering our own. Chirag's data feeds erupted in new alerts. Commander Gale, he murmured, alarmed. You're? Files, there's no record of you in any human registry. The human accord is extinct. Gale's smile deepened, as if she could feel the tremor in the dreadnought systems. Reconstruction is part of our tradition, she replied softly. We approach each civilization anew, unbound by history. Selene opened her datapad. To record the exchange. Explain your technology, she demanded. How do you power those towers? What are you doing on Epsilon Prime? Gale gestured toward the crystalline cube she held. At her touch, it unfurled, morphing into a lattice of golden filaments. The lattice pulsed once, and a wave of silence washed over the hangar. The ship's engines cut to idle as if obeying an unseen command. This device, Ale explained, voice calm, is a quantum lattice generator. It shapes space-time through thought patterns encoded in conscious intent. On our world, we live in harmony with the machinery of existence itself. Behind Gale, her companions began to remove their helmets. Their eyes glowed faintly from the inside, illuminating the filigree of nanowire etched across their skulls. Selene's throat went dry. You mean you think the machines into working? One could say that, Gale replied. She placed the lattice on a maintenance table. Immediately, the table's mechanical arms reconfigured, adapting to the lattice's geometry. Tools lifted themselves, aligning in perfect choreographed patterns. The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. Imperial doctrine held that technology must be understood, codified, and controlled, never allowed to function beyond the ken of the engineer's wrench and the theorist's equations. Yet here stood a device that responded to consciousness, dancing to the silent music of thought. Commander Doom's voice cut the silence. You'll need to demonstrate this outside the hangar. We cannot risk such power unchecked. Gale inclined her head once more. As you wish, Commander. Moments later, the hangar doors parted, revealing the violet-tinted dusk of Epsilon Prime. Gale and her team led Selene's boarding party across the landing pad. On the horizon, the crystalline towers shone like a field of ghosts, their energy. Veins tracing patterns in the sky. As they approached Nexus Alpha, a low hum filled the air. The very ground seemed to resonate beneath their feet. The planetary wind carried a metallic tang, like ozone mixed with something sweeter, almost medicinal. Gale raised her hand, and the towers answered in kind. Beams of light arched down, forming a glowing corridor. At its end lay the floating sphere. From the dreadnought's viewport, a perfect orb of crystal, encircled by looping arcs of energy. Touch it, Ale said. You'll see. Selene hesitated only a heartbeat before she extended a gloved hand. The moment her fingers brushed the orb's surface, a kaleidoscope of images exploded in her mind. Galaxies born in nova fire, civilizations rising and falling like ocean tides, a single conscious thread weaving through them all. She gasped, drawing back. The orb dimmed, as if smiling. Ale's voice was gentle. You feel it, don't you? The universe itself is a living tapestry. Our technology doesn't fight that truth, it embraces it. Below, the dreadnought's sensors recorded seismic tremors as Nexus Alpha's power surged. And far away, in the corridors of the Imperial Citadel, the Council awaited news of this encounter, unaware that in the coming days, everything they believed about power, conquest, and the nature of reality itself would be thrown into question. On Epsilon Prime, first light had come not with a sunrise, but with a revolution no one saw coming. The Empire's greatest dreadnought was at the mercy of a people it could neither understand nor control, and the crystal towers pulsed on, silent, witnesses to a new chapter in galactic history. The charged air in Hangar 2 crackled As the Aurora's Wrath's maintenance teams and human scientists converged around a makeshift lab, towering servo arms and repurposed engineering crates formed the skeleton of an impromptu workshop. Imperial technicians in dark gray coveralls hovered over holotables, eyes darting between schematics and raw data feeds. At the center, resting on a retractable support pedestal, lay the crystalline cube still humming with latent power. Dr. Elric Kymar, the Empire's preeminent xenophysicist, adjusted his hollow goggles, his breath fogging the lenses. "Magnify the internal lattice by 300x, he ordered, voice tight with disbelief. A moment later, the cube's innards bloomed on the central display, an impossibly intricate mesh of quantum filaments, each node flickering between states faster than any Imperial subprocessor could resolve. How does it sustain coherence? Dr. Kymar whispered to Commander Gale, who stood beside him, arms folded over her silver-streaked tunic. Gale's jade eyes softened. Our lattice are grown, not built. They're grown to think as well as compute the thought patterns of their creators become embedded in the structure itself. A spark leaped from the cube's surface, brushing a maintenance droid's plating. Instead of short-circuiting, the droid rebooted, its indicator lights cycling in syncopation with the cube's pulse. The metal servos flexed, then executed. A perfect sweep, bowing as though in deference. Lieutenant Jurek let out a low whistle. A machine bowing to another machine. I've seen auto-works where they salute the flag, but this. From the shadows strode Ambassador Lyria Thane, her imperial blue gown, whispering across the hangar's gridded floor. She paused to survey the scene. A mishmash of imperial grav plates, subspace relays, and human biotech instruments all humming in harmonic resonance. "Report," she commanded. Dr. Kymar spun. "Ambassador, the cube's lattice, if you look here." He pointed at a series of fractal constructs that defied Euclidean geometry. It's not simply processing data. It's rewriting spatial relationships within its own field. If we tried to replicate this, our reactors would implode. Thane's silver hair caught the violet glow. Then we must learn from them. Prepare the containment field. We launched the experiment under full security lockdown. Down the corridor, alarms sounded as Fleet Brigadier Tolan's encrypted message came through. A rogue transmission from Epsilon Prime's surface filtered through the cube's energy grid. The message was a single line of code, shifting continuously. Initialize. Enlightenment Protocol. Thane paled. Enlightenment Protocol? That's their term for full-spectrum emergent integration. She looked to Commander Gale. What happens if it's activated? Gale's expression was grave. It harmonizes cognition and energy into a single architecture. We've only ever used it on uninhabited systems to see our colonies. In use, it invites an intelligence field to bloom an echo of collective consciousness. Technicians froze, the hum of power tools cut off mid-chirp. Dr. Kymar backed away from the holotable. If it blooms here, we could see hive mind synchronization across the ship. Individual sentience might dissolve. But imagine the knowledge, Thane breathed, as if tasting the word. A single, unified awareness secured across every mind on board. The Empire would gain insight into psionic currents, dark matter flows, even the Emperor's own unconscious strategies. Jurok swallowed. Or we surrender our identities. Before Thane could respond, the cube's pulse deepened, resonating through every metal beam. The hangar's gravity regulators flickered. Loose tools tumbled upward, then hovered in place. A fine web of luminous filaments spilled forth from the cube, weaving through the air like glowing mist. Gale stepped forward and placed a hand on the cube's surface. "Stop. Now." Her voice was calm but unyielding. The filaments recoiled, retracting into the lattice. The hum faltered and then steadied at its previous lull. A chorus of exhalations filled the hangar. Thane exhaled in relief. You? You can control it? Gale nodded. To a degree. But the protocol is self-directed once initiated. We never fully mastered its termination. We seeded worlds, but we never tested it on living populations. Commander Doom entered at a run, communicator crackling. Captain, surface teams report an incursion of localized gravity wells, somewhere near Nexus Beta. Civilians trapped in their homes, fields levitating 10 meters in the air. Seleni's voice crackled over the cone. Bridge to Hangar 2. We have to stabilize the planet's field or risk catastrophic collapse. Thane turned to Gale. Can you help them remotely? Gale hesitated, then removed a slender crystalline rod from her belt. This will interface with the planetary. Lattice tune it back. But I'll need direct neural synchronization. Thane raised an eyebrow. Neural synchronization? You mean you'll guide the lattice with your mind? Gale's eyes held a distant light. Yes, but if the field's too unstable, it could overwhelm me. The choice was stark. Imperial. Caution warred with the chance to save billions. Thane met Commander Doom's eyes, then nodded. Do it. Moments later, deep beneath the swirling skies of Epsilon Prime, Gale crouched before a massive crystalline antenna sprouting like a colossal tree. Technicians of both species formed a ring around her, humming with anticipation. She pressed the rod into the antenna's core. Where metal met crystal, sparks danced like silver rain. Gale closed her eyes. The air stilled. Then a surge. The lattice around her shimmered, bending light. Reality rippled. She began to chant, her voice a soft undercurrent, blending human. Speech with patterns of thought. On the surface, gravity wells collapsed. Homes returned to their foundations. Livestock stilled mid-air and tumbled gently to the soft lilac soil. The storm above the towers calmed. The luminous arcs dimmed, and for the first time, the planet exhaled. Back in the hangar, Gale sagged to her knees, trembling. Medics rushed forward, but she waved them off. Her eyes shone with triumph and exhaustion. Thane approached, placing a steady hand on Gale's shoulder. You saved them all, she said quietly. Imperial Levs. Thousands of worlds. Gale looked up, her mask of poise fractured. I used more than I intended. The protocol nearly consumed me. Dr. Kamar placed a hand on Gale's unaugmented arm. You risked yourself for us. Gale managed a wry smile. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, unless those giants are living machines. She offered Thane a half bow. Shall we continue? Thane nodded, resolve settling in her eyes. Prepare the cube for full analysis. But we proceed with utmost care. The galaxy's greatest treasure may lie within it, but so too its greatest threat. As the hangar's lights flickered back to full power, Imperial and human alike realized that nothing would ever be the same. Deep within the Aurora's wrath, data streams pulsed with new possibilities and hidden dangers. Secrets beneath the alloy were stirring, and the true nature of human technology was only beginning to unfold. The corridors of the Aurora's wrath hummed with low-intensity field stabilizers as Captain Selene Arcturus made her way to the secure intelligence chamber. It was a circular room encased in woven steel filaments designed to nullify any subspace or psionic eavesdropping. Here, only Imperial officers and the Human Accord's delegation were permitted. At the center floated a hull array projecting Epsilon Prime's surface, overlaid with sensors' heat maps and gravitational contours. Seated around the array were Admiral Rinalda Crest and Chief Intelligence Officer Viron Secundus, their faces drawn in the flickering lavender glow. On the far side, Ambassador Lyria Thane sat beside Commander Marin Gale, whose serene countenance betrayed none of the fatigue from the protocol's surge. When Selene entered, all eyes turned to her. Captain. Admiral Crest said without preamble. Report. Celine tapped her gauntlet, zooming in on a section of the map. Our teams have cataloged 32 distinct human devices, gravitic modulators, thought-cinched processors, living microbe fuel cells. Yet every time we think we understand one, it shifts form or function. It's as if the technology is alive. Varen leaned forward, voice grave. Intelligence reports indicate humans integrate biotech directly into their neural cortex. Their neural pathways are scaffolded by nanofibers that channel energy without crossing the blood-brain barrier. That means they don't just use machines. They merge with them. He pointed to a cluster of bifurcating lines on the holomap. Here, neural telemetry intercepted near Nexus Gamma. We traced a hive-linked signal. It's not one mind, but many, sharing thoughts instantaneously. Thane folded her hands. You parse this as threat or marvel? Both, Celine replied. Their ships traverse light years by weaving their intent into the warp field itself. They don't calculate trajectories, they will them. No computer, known to the Empire, can replicate that fusion of consciousness and computation. Across the table, Gale regarded them coolly. Your Empire's machines are exceptional but rigid. Each theorem must be proven, each equation balanced. Our approach is more symbiotic. We cultivate our devices as extensions of the mind. With practice, the user and the machine become inseparable. She tapped a cursor, and the holoarray shifted to show a stylized human brain overlaying a star chart. This is my personal neural map, entangled with the Starlight Runner's core. When I pilot, I don't interface through controls. I think our location into being. Varen's lips parted in astonishment. So you literally dream the ship through the cosmos. Gale inclined her head. Dreams are simply thoughts unrestrained by logic. A tense silence fell. Admiral Crest cleared her throat. This human enigma could unseat the Empire's supremacy. We must decide, do we absorb this power or neutralize the risk? She turned to Thane. Ambassador, your recommendation? Thane's gaze drifted to the projection of Epsilon Prime's towers, standing as silent sentinels. The human accord offers partnership knowledge for knowledge. They demand no tribute, no vassalage. Instead, they ask for guardianship of their technology, that the Empire never weaponize its emergent properties against living minds. This is unprecedented, Varen interjected. Our doctrine hinges on superiority through control. To relinquish that would be to embrace a new paradigm, Thane finished. One where power is measured not by the yield of reactors, but by the depth of understanding. Gale's eyes flicked to Varen. Allow me to demonstrate a controlled fusion of our technologies. I propose a joint simulator session. Your best minds, your finest engineers, seated in neural synchronicity with our lattice. She paused. If we can pilot a simulation together, you will see the elegance and necessity of collaboration. Admiral Crest exchanged a look with Celine, then nodded curtly. Very well. Prepare the simulator deck. Later that evening, deep within the Aurora's Wrath, a group of Imperial scientists and human delegates gathered in the simulator chamber. Pods lined the walls, each bristling, with neural conduits and hollow projectors. At the room's heart, a crystalline sphere spun in 0G, streaming fine tendrils of light toward the pods, like cosmic roots. Dr. Kymar took the leftmost pod. He glanced warily at Commander Gale entering the central console. I trust your safeguards are sufficient, he murmured. Gale smiled. The safeguards are you. Your mind is the greatest filter of all. Technicians sealed the chamber, and the sphere's filaments crept toward each pod, anchoring to implanted neural nodules. A soft chime sounded as the session began. Each participant felt a gentle tug in their thoughts, as though waking from a dream. Before long, the holoprojectors flashed to life. The chamber dissolved, replaced by the boundless vista of interstellar space. Stars pulsed like living cells, and nebulae draped in silken hues. A starlight runner, its hull alive with shimmering circuitry, hovered before them. Its open bridge revealed occupants seated at consoles that were nothing more than lighted platforms. A calm voice echoed in their minds. "Welcome. You are the first delegates of the Imperial Domain. Share with us your intent, and let us chart a course together." Dr. Kamar hesitated, then projected a visualization of a standard Imperial warp coil. The scene shifted. The coil ignited, but its field flared chaotically, tearing the simulated space apart. Alarms sounded virtual, but jolting nonetheless. Gale raised a mental hand. In an instant, the tear healed. The warp coil reconfigured into a living spiral of light, folding gently into hyperspace. "Your intent," she intoned, "requires balance." She guided their collective thought into a visualization of serenity, calm tides lapping a silent shore. The warp coil stabilized, humming in harmonic resonance. One by one, the Imperial delegates contributed. A battle fleet formation, a strategic blockade, the design of an interstellar embassy. With each input, the simulation responded. Guns that could fire without recoil, calm arrays that whispered across thousands of light years, defensive shields that danced like aurorae. All functions wired directly to the participants' focuses. Fear made weapons unstable. Confidence made shields impenetrable. When the session ended, the chamber returned to its physical form. The sphere's filaments retracted, and the pods opened. Pale from the effort, Dr. Kamar stumbled out first, eyes alight with wonder. "By the histories, this is more than technology. It's a living network of minds." Farron rose, voice shaking. "We cannot unlearn this." Admiral Crest stood, cloak flowing around her like storm clouds. "Then we must learn what it means to lead differently. The human accord has shown us a mirror, that power need not be seized, but shared." Gale stepped forward, offering a hand to each Imperial leader. "To build the future, we must intertwine our destinies. This enigma, this gift is ours to shape together." In the silence that followed, the hollow array in the chamber's center flickered, projecting a single star, Epsilon Prime. Around it spun two rings of light, one crimson for the Empire, one silver for humanity, interlocked forever in a cosmic dance. As the lights pulsed, each leader in the room felt a spark of something new, hope. And in that spark lay the seed of a galaxy reborn. The hololithic decree arrived in the Imperial Throne Hall at the apex of the Citadel's crystalline spire, carried on a plume of cobalt blue light. Chancellor Hymar's voice boomed through the chamber's resonant corridors as the assembly of nobles, augurs, and military lords fell silent. "By order of His Majesty Emperor Valders III," the decree intoned, "the human accord shall be received as partners of the Empire. Their technology will be studied under joint oversight, and their ambassadors granted equal station in the Imperial Court. Let it be known, we embark on a new age of unity and discovery." A murmur rippled through the gathered dignitaries. Some bowed awed by the prospect of unimagined power. Others scowled offended by the notion of human equality. At the dais, Commander Maren Gale and Ambassador Lyria Thane stood side by side, their silver and azure robes catching the prismatic sunlight. Across from them, Emperor Valdres III reclined on his ivory throne, flanked by Captain Celine Arcturus and Admiral Rinalda Crest. The chamber's vast stained glass windows cast shifting patterns of light across the polished obsidian floor as the crowd awaited the Emperor's next words. Valdres rose, the hush deepening. His voice was measured but resonant. "Today, we welcome humanity, not as supplicants, but as fellow custodians of the cosmos mysteries. Let no man or machine doubt that the might of the Empire endures. Yet let no mind forget that wisdom grows not from conquest alone, but from communion. A bolt of resonance coursed through the hall, an echo of power, both ancient and new. It rippled through the engraved glyphs on the walls, stirring the psionic wards woven into the spires. Core. Gale glanced at Thane, whose eyes shone with tempered triumph. Outside, the sky above the Capitol Plaza thrummed as a fleet of starlight runners drifted into formation among the Imperial dreadnoughts. Their hulls shimmered like liquid mirror, bending the light around them into spectral hues. Citizens turned expectantly upward, unaware of the fragile balance underfoot. Later that evening, in the War Council chamber aboard the Aurora's Wrath, Captain Celine Arcturus convened her senior staff. Holographic projections of Imperial weaponry and human lattice devices flickered in mid-era tableau of possibilities and perils. Our first joint exercise will commence at dawn, Celine announced. Admiral Crest will lead the mixed fleet. Commander Gale, you will demonstrate the fusion protocols in real time. Ambassador Thane, you will oversee the diplomatic contingents. Lieutenant Jurek exchanged a wary glance with Dr. Kaimar. Captain, we've simulated this in the neuronal deck, he cautioned, but a live test under combat conditions carries unknown risks. If a human lattice falls into enemy hands— Celine raised a hand. I'm aware of the stakes, but the galaxy watches. We cannot shrink back now. She turned to Gale. Are you ready? Gale inclined her head. More than ever. Let us show the Empire and its rivals what unity can achieve. On the fields of the Outer Rim, a rogue faction of the Orion Cartel massed their raider flotilla's sleek corvettes, bristling with disruptor turrets and cloaking reels. Their leader, Raja Voskul, watched the display through a prism pointer in his command corvette. Across the viewport, the Imperial human fleet assembled like a living tide. He sneered. The fools bring saviors with them. They shall rue their optimism. As the dawn sun crested the horizon, the battle began. The cartels. Ships surged forward, disruptor beams tearing through the vacuum toward the Imperial dreadnoughts. But instead of closing instantly, the beams faltered, drifting off course as if encountering an unseen current. Gale's voice crackled over the comm. Form ranks. Feel the lattice. Through every starlight runner, crystalline cores bloomed. To life, sending arcs of energy outward. The lattice network wove between ships, binding Imperial and human hulls in a shimmering web. Enemy disruptors struck the web and fizzled, absorbed into its matrix, then transmuted into energy pulses that recharged allied shields. A roar of astonishment crackled through the fleet. Imperial commanders who had once regarded human technology with suspicion now found themselves sailing into battle as one coherent organism. Tactical maneuvers executed in silent understanding, no order shouted, no signals relayed. A glance, a thought, and the formation shifted like a single mind. Raja Voskul snapped his fingers. Unleash the Dark Star torpedoes. Metallic globes, the size of moons, hurtled toward the fleet, trailing arcs of anti-energy. But as they encountered the lattice's outer fringe, they fragmented into motes of harmless radiation, each mote diving into the lattice, harmonizing with its frequency. The torpedoes dissipated without a sound dot in the Capitol Plaza. Citizens gasped at the sky. In the Citadel, nobles leaned forward, jaws slack. Only Emperor Valdres III remained impassive, arms folded. Then, a faint smile crept across his ancient visage. Back aboard the Aurora's Wrath, the battle's aftermath glowed across the main monitors, hulks of cartel wreckage drifting among the stars. The Allied fleet, unscathed, formed a gracious halo around the fallen. Celine exhaled, voice heavy. We did it. Gale's tone was quiet, reverent. together. Dr. Kimar released a pent-up breath. I never believed I'd see the day when machines would sing in unison. Varen placed a hand on Kimar's shoulder. This is only the beginning. His gaze met Seleni's. But we must guard against hubris. The lattice our link could be corrupted. If our minds fracture, it fractures too. Selene nodded. Protocols in place. Weeks later, in the Emperor's private observatory, Valdris III surveyed the twin suns of Epsilon Prime rising over the crystal towers. Captain Arcturus and Commander Gale stood by his side, shadows long at their feet. Imperial fleets patrol the outer rim now, Selene reported. Peace holds for now. The cartel retreats wherever the lattice reaches. Gale smiled softly. Human worlds celebrate the accord. Old grudges fade when shared light dispels the darkness. The Emperor regarded them, his eyes reflecting. Both sons. You have shown me that authority need not rely on fear, and that tenderness can be as formidable as steel. He turned to Gale. Human accord, what is your fate? Gale bowed. We remain students of the galaxy, as all civilizations are. We offer our wisdom freely, but never impose it. We believe that technology guided by empathy leads to lasting harmony. Valdris inclined his head. Then let it be so. From this day forth, Imperial Science Academies will open their doors to human envoys. Joint colonies will rise on frontier worlds, and the human accord shall forge alongside the Empire a new constellation of hope. A final hush fell as the trio watched the crystalline spires catch the dawn's first light, now glowing not with alien energy alone, but imbued with the promise of unity. In their refracted brilliance danced the vision of a galaxy forever changed, where human intention and imperial might converged, not to conquer, but to create. As the suns ascended, so too did a new chapter in cosmic history, a testament that the greatest weapon is not the pulse cannon, nor the psionic lance, but the courage to embrace the unknown and the wisdom to share its wonders.